The warship of the Zyran Empire floated like a giant shadow above the blue planet. Its sharp wings stretched wide, glowing with strange green lights. Inside the command chamber, silence ruled. Rows of alien soldiers stood still, their silver armor shining under the dim light. Every eye turned toward their captain. Captain Veyrak was tall, with dark scales that reflected the glow of the screens around him. His forearms rested behind his back, his mind sharp and ready. He had captured many strange species before, but today was different. On the cold floor of the chamber, a human woman sat with her hands tied. She was young, with messy hair and tired eyes, but she was not afraid. Her lips curved in a strange half-smile, as if she knew something the aliens did not. That made Veyrak uneasy. In his clawed hand, he held the object. It was small, pale, and curved. It looked smooth, but strong, heavier than its size suggested. His scanners beeped loudly the moment he picked it up. Red letters flashed on the screen. Unknown material. Potential danger. The soldiers gasped. They had seen plasma guns, energy grenades, and blades that cut through steel. But this thing, did not match any weapon in their vast database. What? Is this human? Veyrak asked, his voice low and filled with command. The woman tilted her head. That? Oh, that's nothing. Her words were calm, almost playful, too calm. Veyrak's eyes narrowed. A prisoner should show fear, yet she showed only amusement. Suspicion grew inside him. Lieutenant Koresh stepped forward, his translator buzzing. Captain, I suggest extreme caution. This object may be a hidden weapon. Perhaps biological. Biological. The word hung in the air like a storm. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Weapons made of flesh and bone? Impossible, but terrifying to imagine. Veyrak turned the object slowly in his hand. The scanners reacted again, screaming louder. Energy spikes, chemical traces, density readings that made no sense. He slammed the object down on the table. The metal surface bent slightly, as if the object carried power within. Gasps filled the room. The woman chuckled softly. You're overthinking it. Overthinking? The captain's jaw tightened. No alien mocked the Zyran Empire. Yet this fragile human dared to laugh. One soldier whispered, perhaps it controls their minds. A device to bend reality. Another hissed, no. It is too simple. Maybe it releases poison. Invisible, silent death. Every theory spread fear through the chamber. The more they argued, the more mysterious the object became. Captain Veyrak raised one claw to silence them. His glowing eyes fixed on the human. Tell us the truth, how many of these weapons do your kind carry? The woman blinked, confused at first. Then she smiled again, wider this time. Oh, billions. The soldiers stepped back, shock clear on their faces. Billions? Did every human carry such a thing? The thought sent waves of unease through the crew. If this simple object was indeed a weapon, then Earth was not a weak planet at all. It was a fortress of hidden power. Lieutenant Koresh whispered, if every human has one. Captain, we must reconsider invasion. This could be the deadliest species we have ever met. The silence grew heavy. Only the low hum of the warship's engines filled the room. The woman sat comfortably, as if she were watching a comedy show. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. She knew exactly what they were thinking, and that made her laughter even harder to hold back. Captain Veyrak clenched the object tighter. He imagined armies of humans charging into battle, carrying billions of these strange weapons inside their bodies. His mind twisted with visions of destruction. Maybe this planet was far more dangerous than they believed. He leaned closer to the human, his voice dropping to a growl. What? Is it? She opened her mouth, but instead of fear or confession, a laugh burst out, a real loud laugh that echoed in the chamber. The aliens froze, unsettled by the sound. No prisoner had ever laughed in their presence. The laugh only made the mystery stronger. What secret did she hold? What deadly power was this object hiding? Veyrak turned to his crew. Double the scans. Break it apart if needed. I want answers. Machine's word to life. Blue light circled the object, measuring every detail. But the more they scanned, the more confusing the data became. Some readings showed it was stronger than steel. Others said it was fragile like wood. Some showed deadly chemicals. Others showed harmless organic matter. The confusion grew deeper. The mystery grew darker. The human leaned back, watching their panic unfold. Her lips curved in a sly grin. Good luck with that, she whispered under her breath. The crew worked harder, desperate to solve the riddle. The captain's eyes burned, with determination. But no matter what the machines revealed, one truth was clear. They were terrified. To them, this was no simple object. It was the symbol of human power, unknown, hidden, and possibly unstoppable. The chamber lights flickered as the scanning machine slowed. Lines of alien code filled the screens, but none of it made sense. The object refused to reveal its true nature. For the Zyran crew, this was proof of danger. For the human woman, it was pure comedy. She sat on the cold floor, her wrists tied, but her spirit free. Every beep, every nervous whisper from the aliens only made her lips tremble harder. She wanted to laugh again, but she held it in, biting down on her smile. Captain Veyrak slammed one claw against the table. The sound echoed like thunder. Speak, human. What power does this weapon hold? The woman tilted her head, her messy hair falling across her face. Weapon? You really think that's a weapon? The crew gasped at her boldness. No one spoke to Captain Veyrak with such casual words, yet this fragile human, smaller than any of them, dared to question him. Lieutenant, Koresh hissed, do not mock us. Our scans do not lie. That thing carries energy. We feel its danger. She chuckled softly. Danger? Oh, it's dangerous, all right, but not in the way you think. Her words dropped like sparks into dry grass. The aliens leaned closer, fear growing sharper. If she admitted it was dangerous, then what horrors had Earth created? One soldier whispered, perhaps it is alive. A parasite. Another shuddered. Or a seed. A weapon that grows inside every human body. The woman's shoulders shook. She could not hold her laughter anymore. She burst out laughing, her voice filling the chamber. It was not the laugh of madness. It was the laugh of someone watching a child mistake a spoon for a sword. The crew recoiled, unsettled. To them, laughter was a rare sound, used only in victory celebrations. To hear it from a prisoner in chains was unnatural. It felt powerful. Captain Veyrak's eyes narrowed. Explain your amusement, or you will regret it. She wiped a tear from her eye, still smiling. You really don't know, do you? All this technology, all these scanners, and you can't tell what it is. Veyrak slammed his fist on the table again. Enough games. Her laughter softened into a grin. She leaned forward, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. That thing you're holding, it's part of me, part of every human. Silence. The crew froze, their scaled faces twisting with horror. A weapon? Inside her? Inside every human? The thought rattled through their minds like a storm. Lieutenant Koresh spoke first, his voice trembling. Captain, if she speaks truth, then humanity is armed from birth. The soldiers stepped back, their claws gripping their weapons. Fear crept into their hearts, but the woman only tilted her head, watching them panic. She had turned the tables without moving an inch. Their fear was her victory. Captain Veyrak growled, but his grip tightened on the object. He could not shake the thought. Billions of humans, each carrying hidden weapons in their bodies, flesh and bone wrapped around secret blades. It was unthinkable, and yet here it was. He leaned closer, glaring at the woman. If it is truly part of you, then why give it to us? Her grin widened. I didn't. You took it. The room filled with uneasy whispers. Had they stolen something from inside her body? Was this the reason she laughed? The woman sat straighter now, her confidence growing. You think humans are weak, but you don't understand us at all. You see danger where there is none, and sometimes you miss the real danger. The words hung heavy in the air. Some soldiers glanced at her hands, her eyes, her teeth, as if every part of her might hide another weapon. One soldier muttered, "Perhaps the entire body is a weapon. Every human is a living arsenal." The woman smirked. She didn't confirm, and she didn't deny. That was the beauty of it. Her silence fed their fear. Captain Veyrak slammed the object back onto the table. The scanners beeped wildly again, unable to decide what it was. He turned toward his crew. "Restrain her tighter. She knows more than she says." 2 soldiers stepped forward, but when they reached for her, she leaned in and whispered, "Careful. I wouldn't want my other weapons to go off." They froze. Fear locked their limbs. Neither dared to touch her. The chamber fell into chaos. The strongest empire in the galaxy, reduced to trembling before one human woman. And all because of a single misunderstanding. She leaned back again, her smile calm, her voice gentle. "You don't need to fear me, I promise I'm harmless." But her eyes sparkled with mischief. The aliens saw the look and thought the opposite. To them, this was a predator in disguise, hiding its fangs behind a smile. Captain Veyrak turned away, his scales bristling with unease. He could not admit fear in front of his soldiers, yet it burned in his chest. For the first time in years, he wondered if the Zeran Empire had made a mistake. The humans sat quietly now, letting their imaginations do the work. Every second of silence felt heavier than the last. Every breath she took sounded like a threat. And though no blood had been spilled, the aliens already felt defeated. The woman's laughter returned, soft and playful. It echoed through the chamber like a song, weaving into their minds, reminding them that sometimes the scariest weapon was not a blade or a gun or even a bomb. The chamber had grown quiet, but it was not the calm of peace, it was the heavy, sharp quiet of fear. Every alien soldier's eyes darted between their captain, the strange object on the table, and the human woman who sat chained but somehow in control. The more she smiled, the more unsettled they felt. A prisoner should be broken, desperate, begging. Yet she looked like someone enjoying a private joke, as if this entire warship was her stage and they were the actors in her play. Captain Veyrak paced slowly, his claws clicking against the metal floor. His mind churned. This human spoke with such confidence. If she was lying, she would be crushed easily by their weapons. But if she was telling the truth... He turned to the object, pale, smooth, curved, harmless-looking. Yet their scanners insisted. It carried strange signals. No weapon in the galaxy looked like this, but perhaps that was humanity's secret. Lieutenant Koresh cleared his throat. "Captain, permission to bring in the Science Council?" Veyrak nodded. Moments later, a group of alien scientists entered, their long heads covered in shining metal devices, their many eyes glowing blue with knowledge. They circled the object like vultures over prey. One scientist clicked its tongue. "It gives off chemical traces I have never seen. Organic, but dangerous." Another hissed, "Look at its curve. It could be a blade. Perhaps humans hide these blades inside their bodies, ready to pull them out in battle." The crew murmured in agreement. The idea grew stronger with each word. What if humans were walking arsenals, their bones and flesh hiding secret weapons? The human woman leaned forward, her smile turning playful. "You're not entirely wrong." Gasps filled the chamber. The scientists froze. Captain Veyrak's eyes narrowed. Her words were like a spark to dry wood. Panic flared instantly. "See?" Koresh cried. "She admits it. These are blades inside them." The woman chuckled but said nothing more. She let their imaginations run wild, and it worked perfectly. In their minds, humans were now monsters, creatures with weapons hidden under, their skin ready to burst out at any moment. A young soldier whispered, "What if they can detach them?" Throw them like knives. Another shuddered. Or, regrow them. Infinite weapons. The rumor spread like fire. Each soldier added to the myth, building humanity into something terrifying. The woman could barely hold her laughter. Every guess made humans sound stronger than they truly were. She leaned back, letting them build their own fear. The chief scientist tapped his scanner. "Captain, I believe the object is only one piece of a larger system. If humans carry many of these inside, their entire bodies may function as living armories. Imagine bones that double as blades, joints as hidden hinges, skin as armor plating." The crew shivered. The picture painted was terrifying. A species built for war, disguising itself as fragile, harmless creatures. Captain Veyrak slammed his claw on the table. "If this is true, then invading Earth would be suicide." The woman raised her eyebrow, amusement sparkling in her eyes. "Maybe you're smarter than you look." The insult burned, but the captain ignored it. He was too focused on the terrifying thought that billions of humans walked the Earth, each one a soldier carrying an arsenal under their skin. Lieutenant Koresh leaned closer to Veyrak, speaking in a low voice. "Captain, what if this object is not just a weapon, but a control device? What if it connects them, gives them power over their kind?" The captain's eyes widened. A hive mind? Weapons that could link billions of humans together? The thought froze his blood. The human woman smiled wider, watching the fear spread. She did not need to lie. She only needed to stay silent and let their minds do the work. One soldier stepped back suddenly, his claws trembling. "She is smiling. Captain, what if her smile is part of the weapon? What if she can control us with it?" The crew recoiled at once, stepping further from the human. The woman laughed again, a clear, bold laugh that made them shiver. To her, this was comedy. To them, it was horror. The chief scientist shook his head. "I must warn you, Captain, if every human is like this, they may be the most dangerous species we have ever faced. We should not be here." The crew broke into nervous whispers. Some demanded retreat. Others insisted they destroy the woman before she unleashed her hidden weapons. Fear cracked the discipline of the Zyran Empire like glass. The woman leaned forward and whispered just loud enough for them to hear. "You haven't even seen what else we can do." The room went still. Every alien froze. Her voice carried no threat, no anger, only calm confidence. And that was worse than any scream. Captain Veyrak's chest tightened. He looked at her, then at the object on the table, and finally at his trembling soldiers. The greatest empire in the galaxy, and here they were, reduced to fear by one human and a piece of bone. He turned away, his voice rough. "Triple the guard. Do not let her out of your sight." The woman leaned back, smiling as if she had already won. She did not need to fight. She only needed to let their fear grow. And in the silence of that chamber, the misunderstanding became truth. To the aliens, humans were no longer fragile creatures. They were monsters hiding weapons inside their bodies. Monsters that laughed in the face of war. The warship's chamber no longer felt like a place of command. It felt like a cage of fear. The object lay on the metal table, glowing under the scanner lights, while the human woman sat chained, smiling as though she were the one in charge. Captain Veyrak stood tall, but even he could not hide the tension in his scaled shoulders. His crew looked restless. Some whispered prayers to their ancestors, others avoided the woman's eyes, as if even her gaze might carry hidden power. The human tilted her head, breaking the silence. "You know," she said lightly, "I could tell you the truth, but would you even believe me?" The alien stiffened. Every word she spoke was a riddle, and every riddle sounded like a threat. Lieutenant Koresh slammed his fist on the table. "Tell us, what is its function? Energy? Poison? A hidden signal to your armies?" The woman raised an eyebrow. "Armies? Oh, you think small." Gasps filled the chamber. "Armies? Did she mean entire civilizations or something even larger?" The room buzzed with nervous whispers. One young soldier clutched his rifle. What if each human carries not one but thousands of these weapons inside their bodies? Another shivered. What if humans are born with them, and when they die the weapons remain? Eternal war machines. The woman laughed softly, shaking her head. You're not ready for the answer. The laughter struck them harder than any. Laser blast, a prisoner should not laugh. A fragile creature should not sound so confident. To the Zyran crew, her laughter was a sign of endless strength. Captain Veyrak tried to steady his crew. Enough. Science will give us the truth. He turned to the chief scientist. Speak. The scientist adjusted his glowing headgear and cleared his throat. Captain, our scans show the object is connected to the human skeleton. If they have thousands of such parts, then their bodies are full of hidden structures. Strong, durable, capable of damage. The aliens muttered, horrified. Hidden structures? Weapons inside? The idea grew wilder with every second. One soldier whispered, perhaps when humans fight, their bodies break apart, releasing the weapons within. Another added, or maybe they don't need weapons at all. Maybe they fight with themselves. The image formed in their minds. Humans tearing open their own bodies, pulling out curved blades and charging into battle with bone and blood as their arsenal. It was a nightmare come alive. The woman's grin widened as she watched their terror bloom. She had said very little, but she didn't need to. Their imagination was her greatest weapon. Lieutenant Koresh leaned toward the captain, his voice low. If humans carry these things inside, then every one of them is a soldier. We cannot fight billions of walking armories. We should retreat. But retreat was not the Zyran way. Captain Veyrak clenched his claws. No, we will learn the full truth. If we cannot defeat them, we must at least understand them. He turned to the woman. Tell us, what do you do with these inner weapons? How do you use them in war? The woman tilted her head, pretending to think. War? Sometimes we use them. Sometimes we don't. The aliens froze. Sometimes they use them. Sometimes they don't. Did that mean humans had multiple methods of fighting? Did they only unleash these inner weapons when desperate? When destruction was certain? One soldier's voice cracked. Captain, if they only use them sometimes, then their other weapons must be worse. Far worse. The woman pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh. She could see the fear spreading like wildfire. The chief scientist tapped his scanner again. Captain, the material is both fragile and strong. It breaks, but it heals. No weapon in the galaxy does this. If humans can repair their own weapons inside their bodies, they are unstoppable. The crew gasped in unison. Weapons that repaired themselves? Soldiers who carried an endless supply of blades? The picture was too terrifying to ignore. The woman finally let out another laugh. You're starting to get it. Her words hit them like a shockwave. Panic buzzed in the air. The strongest empire in the galaxy stood trembling before one chained human and a single piece of bone. Captain Veyrak's jaw tightened. He could not allow fear to destroy discipline. Restrain her further. She must not speak again until we have answers. But when the soldiers approached, the woman leaned forward, her voice smooth and mocking. Careful. You wouldn't want to break another one of my weapons. They froze instantly. The soldiers who had taken a step forward stepped back again. None dared to touch her. The human leaned back against the wall, smiling, enjoying her power. For years, the Zyran Empire had conquered worlds, crushed civilizations, and ruled through fear. But now, for the first time, they were on the other side. Fear belonged to them, and the one holding it over them was not an army, not a fleet, not a superweapon. It was one human, sitting on the floor, laughing at their fear. Captain Veyrak clenched his claws tighter. He needed answers. But in the pit of his chest, a dangerous thought grew. Perhaps this was the answer. Humans did not need fleets or machines. Their own bodies were weapons, and their laughter was war. The misunderstanding was no longer just confusion. It was belief. And once belief took root in the minds of soldiers, it became reality. The Zyran Empire now feared Earth, and the human woman knew it. The chamber of the Zyran warship felt heavy, as if the air itself carried fear. The pale object rested on the table, glowing under the scanner lights. Alien soldiers kept their distance, rifles ready but claws trembling. And there, still chained, still smiling, sat the human woman, the center of their terror. Captain Veyrak stood like a statue, but inside his mind was boiling. Every theory his crew had spoken twisted into nightmare visions. Humans with bodies full of hidden weapons, weapons that healed, multiplied, and even regrew. Soldiers who laughed in the face of war. For the first time in his long life, he questioned the power of the Zyran Empire. The silence broke when the woman chuckled again. Her laugh echoed through the chamber like a spark in dry leaves. The aliens flinched as if even her laughter could explode. She leaned forward, her eyes shining with mischief. "You've been asking the same question again and again. Do you really want the truth?" The soldiers stiffened. Some whispered, "No, do not let her speak." Others whispered, "Yes, we must know before it's too late." Captain Veyrak raised his claw for silence. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. "Yes, you will tell us. What is this weapon? What is its true purpose?" The woman tilted, her head pretending to think. Then she smiled again, wider this time, her teeth flashing under the lights. "All right, but don't say I didn't warn you." The chamber grew colder. Every alien leaned in, waiting. The scanners beeped. The engines hummed, but all sound faded under the weight of her words. She pointed at the object on the table. "That thing you're holding, it's called a bone." The room froze, the soldiers blinked, the scientists stared. Even Captain Veyrak's eyes widened in disbelief. "A bone?" The woman nodded slowly, her grin growing. "Yes, a bone. Every human has hundreds of them inside their body. They hold us together, help us move, help us stand. They're not weapons, they're just us." For a heartbeat, silence ruled. Then the chamber erupted in chaos. "No, impossible," a soldier shouted. "They carry hundreds inside," another cried. The scientist stammered, "If they are inside every human, then every human body is filled with bones." The word itself became a curse on their tongues. The woman burst into laughter again, unable to hold it back. She laughed so hard her chains rattled against the floor. The sound was wild, unstoppable, and it cut through the aliens like fire. "Captain," Veyrak slammed his claw against the table, trying to control the chaos, but even he felt shaken. Hundreds. Inside every human? What kind of species carried so many strange curved weapons inside their very bodies? Lieutenant Koresh whispered, pale with fear. "Captain, if these bones are their framework, their inner structure, then humans are walking machines of war. Their entire design is for battle." Another soldier added, "And if one breaks, they can heal it. They repair their weapons from within." The misunderstanding did not end with her reveal, it only grew worse. To the aliens, bones were not harmless, they were proof that humans were monsters. A species carrying an arsenal under their skin, always ready, always armed. The human wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. "You don't get it. Bones are natural. They're not weapons, they're just part of us." But the aliens only heard what they feared most. Natural weapons. Born with blades. Living creatures made of hidden weapons. The chief scientist's voice trembled. "Captain, if their entire structure is built from these bones, then we are doomed. They are not weak flesh. They are cages of weapons walking the stars." The crew erupted again, fear filling their eyes. The woman laughed harder. To her, the whole thing was ridiculous. She had never seen warriors so terrified of something so ordinary. But she also realized something powerful. Sometimes the truth doesn't matter. What matters is what others believe. And right now, the most feared empire in the galaxy believed humans were the deadliest species alive. Captain Veyrak finally raised his claw, silencing the room. His voice was low, almost broken. So, every human carries these bones inside. Hundreds, perhaps thousands. The woman nodded, still grinning. That's right. We can't live without them. The captain's eyes glowed, not with anger, but with respect and fear. He turned to his soldiers. Release her. She is too dangerous to keep. If we harm her, we risk war with an entire planet of weapon creatures. The soldiers hesitated, but obeyed. The chains fell from her wrists. She stood slowly, stretching her arms with ease, her smile never leaving her face. She looked around the chamber, her voice calm. You came here thinking humans were weak. Now you know better. The soldiers stepped back, giving her space, afraid to be near. Captain Veyrak lowered his head slightly, a rare sign of respect. Go, human. Tell your kind. The Zyran Empire will not invade. We are not foolish enough to fight monsters born with weapons inside their very bodies. The woman smirked. Good choice. She walked toward the exit, guards clearing the path. Her laughter echoed behind her, soft but haunting. And when the doors closed, the mighty Zyran Empire stood in silence, shaken by the truth, or rather, by their own misunderstanding of it. To them, bones were weapons, and to them, humans were no longer prey, they were predators. The heavy doors of the warship slid shut behind her, and for the first time since her capture, the human woman breathed freely. Her wrists were sore from the chains, but her smile had never left her face. She had walked out of the command chamber not as a prisoner, but as something far stranger, a mystery so terrifying that the mighty Zyran Empire chose to set her free, rather than risk her wrath. But the moment she stepped into the docking bay, escorted by 2 nervous guards, she knew the misunderstanding wasn't over. It was just beginning. The guards avoided her eyes, walking stiffly beside her. They carried plasma rifles, yet neither dared to point them at her. Instead, they kept their distance, as if one wrong move might make the bones inside her explode. She chuckled softly, enjoying their fear. Relax, boys. I'm not going to hurt you. Both guards stiffened at once, as if her words were a threat. One muttered under his breath. That's what a human would say, right before releasing the hidden arsenal. Her smile widened. They're still terrified. Perfect. As they walked, she glanced around the bay. It was full of sleek alien ships, each glowing with green engines and sharp wings. The Zyrans had conquered dozens of worlds with these ships, but now they treated one unarmed human as though she was more dangerous than all their enemies combined. When they reached a small shuttle, the taller guard spoke quickly. You will take this craft. It is programmed to return you to your planet. Do not unleash your weapons on us. She tilted her head. You mean my bones? The guards flinched at the word. Even hearing it made their scales bristle. The shorter one whispered, Please do not say it out loud. It brings images. She laughed again. These aliens could cross galaxies, destroy cities, and face plasma storms. But the word bone made them tremble like children in the dark. As she stepped into the shuttle, she turned back. You know, you might want to be careful. Humans have more than just bones inside. The guards froze, their glowing eyes wide with terror. Before they could ask what she meant, the shuttle door sealed shut, and the engines roared to life. The Yao craft lifted smoothly from the bay, slipping out into the endless dark of space. Inside the command chamber, Captain Veyrak watched the shuttle depart. His claws tapped against the metal table, where the bone still rested under the scanner lights. No amount of analysis could erase the fear it carried. Lieutenant Koresh approached cautiously. Captain, was it wise to let her go? She may warn her species. Veyrak's eyes glowed with grim certainty. She doesn't need to warn them. They already know. They live with this power every day. We are the fools who only just discovered it. The chief scientist added, If humans truly carry hundreds of these structures, then every human is a fortress. We cannot risk war with them. It would be the end of us. Veyrak said nothing, but his mind was heavy. For centuries, the Ziran Empire had believed they were unstoppable. Now, in one encounter, they were shaken by the simplest truth, that the human body itself was a mystery they could not conquer. Meanwhile, in the small shuttle, the woman leaned back in her seat, grinning at the thought of her escape. She hadn't fired a shot, hadn't thrown a punch, hadn't even stood up most of the time, and yet she had won. But her laughter softened as she looked out the window at the stars. The Zirans would spread their fear of humanity across the galaxy. Other species would hear the stories, humans with hidden weapons inside their bodies, humans who healed themselves, humans who laughed. At danger, her grin returned. Guess that means we'll have a reputation now. And maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. A little fear could protect Earth better than any fleet. Still, a mischievous thought crossed her mind. She imagined returning home, telling her friends. They thought my bones were weapons. They would laugh until their stomachs hurt. And yet, in some strange way, the aliens weren't completely wrong. Bones were weapons, at least when fear turned imagination into power. Back on the warship, the crew whispered among themselves. One soldier muttered, "If humans carry these weapons naturally, then what else do they hide? What is their skin? Armor. What are their teeth? Blades." Another added, "What if their laughter is a signal, a way to call their armies?" The stories grew with every whisper, each more terrifying than the last. The legend of the human spread. Before she had even left their radar, Captain Veyrak listened in silence. He knew he could not stop the rumors. Fear had already taken root, and fear, once planted, grew faster than any truth. He looked at the object on the table one last time. A bone, to humans simple and ordinary. To the Ziran Empire, it was a symbol of terror, a weapon no technology could match. With a deep breath, he turned away. "Seal it. Lock it in the vault. Let no one touch it again." The soldiers obeyed, but none wanted to be the one to carry it. Finally, 3 of them lifted the container together, their claws shaking as though they carried a bomb. And as the chamber doors closed, one final thought haunted Captain Veyrak. If a single human could break the Empire's courage with nothing but a smile and a bone, what would happen if Earth decided to fight for real? The shuttle carrying the human woman vanished into the distance, leaving the Ziran warship behind. But the fear she planted did not vanish. It spread like fire. Within hours, encrypted messages raced through Ziran communication channels. Reports, warnings, and whispers carried the same terrifying claim. Humans are armed from within. The message did not stop at one ship or one fleet. It leapt from outpost to outpost, carried by frightened voices who had seen the object with their own eyes. By the time the woman's shuttle reached the edge of Earth's orbit, the rumor had already reached 3 neighboring star systems. On the desert world of Thazara, a group of insectoid merchants gathered around a glowing projector. The message replayed again and again. Images of a pale curved object, the Ziran scanners flashing danger across the screen. One merchant clattered, his mandibles nervously. "So, humans are filled with these bones?" Another hissed. "Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. And they heal when broken." A third trembled. "That means they cannot be killed. Break them, and they rise again." The merchants looked at one another. For centuries, they had laughed at the idea of trading with Earth. Too primitive, too fragile. But now, Earth sounded less like prey and more like a sleeping giant. "Raise the price of human goods," one merchant said quickly. "If they are this dangerous, we must show respect, or they will come for us." The others nodded. Fear was already becoming profit. Far away on the watery planet Cirrus, a council of amphibian scholars debated in panic. "The Zirans are exaggerating," one croaked. "It cannot be true. No creature carries weapons in its body." But another slapped the table with a slimy hand. "You saw the scans, the human admitted it herself. Bones, they called them bones." A third whispered, "If each human is a fortress, then we must never anger their world. Better to ally with them than fight them." The council voted quickly. They sent a message to Earth's orbiting satellites. We wish peace. We wish trade. We do not seek war. The humans on the receiving end scratched their heads, confused by the sudden friendliness. On the border of the galaxy, pirate fleets caught wind of the rumor. Normally, pirates were bold. They raided ships, stole cargo, and laughed in the face of soldiers. But when the story reached them, their laughter died. A scarred pirate captain growled, "So, humans carry hidden blades inside their bodies? Even when chained, they terrify an empire?" His crew shifted uneasily. The captain slammed his fist on the table. "Mark Earth is off limits. No raids. I don't fight creatures that laugh while I bleed." And just like that, the pirates who had once dreamed of plundering Earth turned their ships away, all because of one misunderstanding. Back on Earth, the woman finally landed. She stepped out of the shuttle, stretching in the sunlight, the cool air brushing against her skin. Soldiers and scientists rushed to greet her, confused by her sudden return. "Where have you been?" one asked. "Captured," she answered, casually. "Then how did you get back?" another demanded. She smirked. "I told them the truth. They didn't believe me." Her friends laughed, thinking it a joke. But the woman knew better. Somewhere out there, an entire empire was shaking because of one word: bones. Meanwhile, the rumor reached even farther, into the chambers of the Galactic Council, a vast assembly where hundreds of species debated peace and war. The Zyran ambassador stood before the crowd, his scales pale with fear. He slammed the table. "You must all hear this. Humanity is not what you think. They are not fragile. They are not prey. They are monsters, walking war machines." The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives of countless species shouted in confusion. The ambassador raised the pale object for all to see. This came from inside one human. Inside. And there are hundreds more where this came from. They heal when broken. They carry these weapons from birth until death, and they laugh while we tremble. The noise died slowly. Every alien eye stared at the object. It looked so simple, so ordinary, and that made it even more terrifying. One elder representative whispered, "If humans are truly filled with these bones, then war with them would be madness." The council voted in silence. By majority, they declared Earth a protected species, not because humans were weak, but because they were too dangerous to touch. The human woman, sitting quietly back on Earth, had no idea her little laugh had changed the galaxy. She had no idea that traitors now feared her people, pirates avoided her world, and entire governments bent their laws because of one misunderstanding. But maybe, she thought, that was the funniest part of all. She leaned back, staring at the night sky. Somewhere out there, rumors of her were spreading like wildfire, and as long as the galaxy feared humanity, Earth was safe. She grinned to herself. Not bad for a bone. HFY.